Hello, third year students. Today we are going to talk about Robinson Crusoe's deliverance. Crusoe, who has escaped the slavery of the Moors, continued his voyage with the poor faithful boy Zeri. The narration of Crusoe shows that this poor boy proves that he loves Crusoe and he is ready to fight for the sake of him. Crusoe and Zeri come close to a shore where they confront danger represented by the savage creatures. Crusoe shows a heroic action when he has succeeded to go to the shore to bring fresh water. Moreover, he has succeeded to hunt a huge animal and even to struggle with a wild creature and kill him. Crusoe and Zeri continued sailing nowhere. It seems that they have lost. Let us see today how they are going to be out of their loss. Are they going to die or to be saved by someone? Students, would you please open your books on page 23, the third paragraph, line number 8, in which Crusoe says, I knew all the ships from Europe which sailed either to the coast or Guinea or to Brazil or to the East Indies made this cape or those islands, and in a word, I put the whole of my fortune upon this single point. Either I must meet with some ship or must perish. After they stop to take some water, Crusoe and Zeri continue sailing to the southward for more than 10 days, living on the provisions they have got, which begin to abate. Crusoe hopes to see the ships that go to Guinea, Brazil, or East Indies. He has one choice now, either to die or to be saved by one of these ships. Students, now the last paragraph of page 23, in which Crusoe says, when I had pursued this resolution about 10 days longer, as I have said, I began to see that the land was inhabited, and in 2 or 3 places as we sailed by, we saw people stand upon the shore to look at us. We could also perceive they were quite black and naked. I was once inclined to have gone on shore to them, but Zeri was my better counselor, said to me, no go. However, I hauled in near on the shore that might talk to them, and I found they ran along the shore by me a good way. Crusoe and Zeri come close to a land where they see some Negroes, who start hailing them. Crusoe tries to make anchor and go to the shore, but his faithful boy Zeri advises him not to go. By doing so, he tries to protect him. Crusoe tries to talk to them, to the Negroes, since he and Zeri need their help. I observed they had no weapons in their hands, except one who had a long slender stick, which Zeri said was a lance, and that they could throw them a great way with good aim. So I kept at a distance, but talked with them by signs as well as I could, and particularly made signs for something to eat. They beckoned to me to stop my boat, and they would fetch me some meat. Upon this I lowered the top of my sail and lay by, and 2 of them ran up into the country, and in less than half an hour came back and brought with them 2 pieces of dried flesh and some corn, such as is the produce of their country. The friendly Negroes, the people whom Crusoe meets, seem peaceful and ready to help others. They live a primitive life. They have no weapons and they put on no clothes. They depend on their products in their living. They are very kind and generous. They do not understand Crusoe's language, but they show that they are ready to communicate with him. Crusoe has succeeded to talk to them. By signs, he shows that he needs food, and in less than half an hour, as he narrates, They go and bring him some food. Now, page 25, please. The second paragraph, in which Crusoe says, I was now furnished with roots and corn, such as it was, and water, and leaving my friendly negroes, I made forward for about 11 days more, without offering to go near the shore, till I saw the land run out a great length into the sea, at about the distance of 4 or 5 leagues before me, and the sea being very calm, I kept a large offing to make this point. Crusoe here says that he has been supplied with food and drinks given to him from his friendly negroes, who show their hospitality and kindness. Crusoe and Zari spend more than 10 days without going to the shore, till they reach a land where they hope to meet some ships to save them. In this dilemma, as I was very pensive, I stepped into the cabin and sat down, Zari having the helm, when on a sudden the boy cried out, Master, master, a ship with a sail, and the foolish boy was frightened out of his wits, thinking it must be some of his master's ships sent to pursue us. But I knew we were far enough out of their reach. I jumped out of my cabin and immediately saw not only the ship, but that it was a Portuguese ship, and as I thought was bound to the coast of Guinea for Negroes. Students, you can find this quotation in the last paragraph of page 25. Being in this dilemma, which is, of course, sailing without being saved by any ship, Crusoe, the frustrated one, is suddenly shocked by Zari, who shouts that he has seen a ship. The poor boy seems afraid. He thinks that this ship has been sent by the ruler of Sallee to arrest them. But Crusoe, who knows very well that they are now out of their reach, of course, jumps out of his cabin to look at the ship. Crusoe becomes sure that it is a Portuguese ship, and it is on its way to bring Negroes from Guinea to make them slaves. Students, now the first paragraph of page 26, in which Crusoe says, with all the sail I could make, I found I should not be able to come in their way, but that they would be gone by before I could make any signal to them. But after I had crowded to the utmost and began to despair, they, it seems, saw me by the help of their perspective glasses, and that it was some European boat, which they supposed must belong to some ship that was lost. So they shortened sail to let me come up. Crusoe immediately gives the ship signals, and it seems that those who are on the board have seen him, and they immediately sent him a boat to deliver him. Now the next paragraph. They asked me what I was in Portuguese and in Spanish and in French, but I understood none of them. But at last a Scottish sailor who was on board called to me, and I answered him and told him I was an Englishman, that I had made my escape out of slavery from the Moors at Sallee. They then bade me come on board and very kindly took me in and all my goods. Crusoe here continues his narration, saying that he has failed to communicate with the sailors of this ship, since they speak Portuguese, French, and Spanish. But fortunately, he has met a nice Scottish sailor, with whom he can communicate. Crusoe tells him the whole story. He tells him that he has escaped the slavery of the Moors. It was an inexpressible joy to me, which anyone will believe, that I was thus delivered as I esteemed it from such a miserable and almost hopeless condition as I was in, and I immediately offered all I had to the captain of the ship as a return for my deliverance, but he generously told me he would take nothing from me, but that all I had should be delivered safe to me when I came to the Brazils. Crusoe here says that being out of his distress and make him be very glad, of course. He has been delivered from his miserable condition and his mysterious hand, of course, delivered by the Portuguese ship. To express his gratitude to the captain of the ship, Crusoe offers to give all he has to him, but the generous captain, as Crusoe has described him, refuses to take anything. He advises Crusoe to keep what he owes, to sell them in Brazil and get some money to buy necessary items there. Students, thank you for your listening.